They called it the corpse wagon. Kale had ridden in it so long he'd almost forgotten he wasn't one of the dead.
Look at him, boys. The only soldier in the battalion who can't light a candle.
The horizon answered before anyone could laugh. A wave of crimson fireballs screamed toward their position.
Use the sparkless runt. Throw him out front. Let the enemy waste their fire.
I was never more than a shield to them.
The fireball struck true. For an instant, Kale's silhouette blackened against a sun of crimson heat. Then the impossible happened. The explosion didn't bloom outward. It collapsed inward. Dragged into a crack in his chest, obsidian scales crawled up his arms. His eyes became furnace-bright slits. Something ancient stirred behind them.
At last, a vessel that hungers.
On the battlefield, every fireball fizzled into cold smoke. Mages gaped at the crater, where their weapon should have scattered ashes.
What is that? Its skin, like black armor. The flames just vanished.
Delicious. More. Bring me more magic.
Enemy mages hurled another volley, but the fireballs twisted midair, streaming into the creature's chest like water down a drain.
Retreat. He's not human anymore. He'll swallow every spell we've got.
I can feel it draining them. This hunger isn't mine, it's a pit with no bottom.
Get away from us, monster. You were always useless. Now you are a curse.
Kale staggered backward, his own voice trapped beneath the roar of the dragon's appetite. Then he ran.
The capital. The Mage King sits on a mountain of stolen fire. Devour him, and I will rest.
He fled into the smoke, leaving behind only the hiss of dying magic and the scent of ozone. By nightfall, both armies whispered of the void-scarred deserter. And inside Kale's skull, the dragon coiled tighter, patient and starving. Days bled into a blur of ash and hunger. Kale hid in a gutted chapel, the dragon's appetite gnawing at his spine.
It stirs whenever I sleep, whispering of feasts I don't want to imagine. Long ago, I warred against the mages who chained the world's mana. They feared me. They should.
Outside, the clank of armor and the hiss of torches. A patrol, led by a scar-faced general, swept the ruins.
The deserter is a walking void. Any spell you throw gets swallowed. Bring him to me alive, or don't come back.
Kale pressed against the cold stone, scales aching. The dragon's hunger roared at the scent of the soldiers' fire staves.
They'll never stop. This thing inside me will never stop. Only one source can sate me. The Archmage King hoards stolen souls, mana distilled. Devour him, and the war dies with me.
Through a shattered window, the capital's distant magical glow pulsed like a second heartbeat.
If there's any chance to silence this hunger, I have to go.
As Kale crept through the rubble, a hand caught his sleeve, and a ragged voice hissed his name.
Kale, I thought they'd burned you to ash.
Mercer, you deserted?
The king is draining civilians, using their souls to feed a barrier. He'll be invincible soon.
Souls. The Mage King's stolen fire. Free them, and I will be freed.
Radok set a trap at the ravine, a mana beacon bright enough to lure any void creature.
A trap built for me. But if the king grows stronger daily, I have no time to play safe.
I'll guide you through the old aqueducts. They don't know those routes.
They moved before dawn, the dragon's hunger, a ticking clock in Kale's chest.
I walk into the teeth of it, but if the souls can end this, I'll risk the trap.
The aqueduct opened onto a dry ravine, where a blinding mana beacon pulsed. Radok stood on the ridge, arms raised to command the trap.
Now, unleash every staff. Drown the void in the mana it craves.
The dragon inside Kale roared, not in pain, but in ravenous ecstasy. Hundreds of fireballs arced inward, and Kale's body became a howling vortex. Mercer stumbled back, shielding his eyes from the glare.
More. More. Let the chains shatter. Feed me until I break free.
Kale, stop. It's me. You'll kill me.
I almost killed you. Get away from me.
He wrestled the dragon down, claws of will tearing at the ancient hunger. The vortex collapsed inward, and the light died.
You bought yourself minutes. I'll tell the king. He'll drain you dry.
He's right. I am a walking bomb. But if I reach the capital before I go off, I can still end this.
At dusk, they reached the capital's edge. A dome of roiling golden light sealed the city. Faces pressed against it, mouths open in silent screams.
They're not just energy. They're still aware. Trapped.
The king called it a shield, but those are our people. He's burning them for safety.
The Mage King feeds on death. The war is his slaughterhouse. Each fallen mage a brick in his immortality.
Kale's chest ignited. The scales pulsed in rhythm with the barrier, a sickening pull toward the imprisoned souls.
Your awakening, the Void Rift, was no accident. The flood of stolen mana cracked the world's balance, and I was drawn to the wound. I am just a byproduct of his gluttony. Devour the barrier. Free the souls. Gain the strength to shatter his throne. It is the only path. If I swallow that many souls, how much of me will be left afterward?
But the screams behind the barrier never stopped. And Kale took a step forward anyway. The Void Dragon pulled Kale into a vision older than the war. A guardian of natural magic soared through a world of balance.
I was the world's keeper. Then the first mage came. He spoke of friendship, then bound me with the spell of ultimate betrayal. My hunger for magic is not my nature. It is the curse he placed upon me. A mocking perversion of my duty. You are not a monster. You are a victim. That changes everything. 100 vessels before you were consumed within hours. You have lasted. Perhaps the curse can be fought. Then we break it. We free the souls. We end the king. And we shatter the chains on you.
Before dawn, they found a drainage gate beneath the barrier, a forgotten wound in the city's armor. Mercer led the way.
If we're caught here, there's no escape. The patrols are thick.
Then we don't get caught. The king's had his feast. Now it's time he chokes.
They slipped into the capital's dark arteries. The dragon's whisper threading through Kale's mind. The throne room. The curse can wait no longer. They emerged into a market square turned mausoleum. Citizens lay slumped against stalls, their eyes hollow, every wisp of magic siphoned into the barrier overhead.
He's not just stealing power. He's hollowing out entire lives. This has to stop.
Before he could move, armored guards poured from the alleyways. A mace cracked against Mercer's temple, and he crumpled.
Go. Don't let them.
Forget him. The throne room is near. One mortal life is meaningless against the end of this war. He's not meaningless. I won't become you.
The dragon's answer was a searing pain in his soul. It fed on his resistance, consuming a chunk of his mortal essence as punishment.
My skin. It's becoming its scales. I'm losing myself.
But the void still obeyed. He tore through the guards like a storm of smoke and claw, wrenching Mercer free before they could retreat.
Your face. Kale. What did it take?
They limped through back streets toward the palace spire, its silhouette twisting against a sky now bleeding crimson. The ritual had begun. A ragged sob halted them. Huddled against a broken fountain lay Commander Vargan, his crimson uniform torn, his squad nowhere in sight.
You are alive. Kale, please, mercy. I know what I did, but the king, he's killing everyone. He's activated the god right. He'll drain every soul inside the barrier in one pulse. After that, no force can stop him.
Kill him. He is nothing but the architect of your torment. We have no time for useless mercy. He threw me to the fireballs. But if I kill him now, I let the dragon win. Get up. If you want mercy, earn it. Tell us the palace routes.
The dragon shrieked. Claws of agony raked down Kale's spine as it fed on his mercy. Each act of humanity now a feast.
We have to move. Now. The barrier's pulsing faster.
They raced through the palace district. The the dragons growl a constant threat beneath Kale's skin, the city's heart beating its last. At the palace gate, Radok blocked the way, a ring of elite pyromancers flanking him, their staves blazing with condensed destruction.
You escaped my trap, but not this. Burn them to nothing. Leave no void for the king to waste his power on.
A storm of fire and void twisted in the courtyard. Mercer fought with desperate skill, his staff cracking as he deflected a lance of white-hot flame.
Mercer, behind you.
But the spear found Mercer's chest before Kale could move. He crumpled, a smoking hole where his heart had been.
Don't let it take you. End it for both of us.
Something inside Kale snapped. The dragon's chains shattered, and a wave of absolute void erupted, swallowing fire, flesh, and soul alike. The mage's screams died in their throats as every spark of magic was ripped from them, leaving only empty husks. Radok fell, his scarred face frozen in disbelief. When the void receded, Kale knelt in the ash, cradling Mercer's body. His own form was barely human. Obsidian scales, slitted eyes, and a heart that beat only with the dragon's hunger. He dug a shallow grave with claws that were no longer his own, then turned to the palace doors. The dragon's voice was now a roar in his skull, and a sliver of Kale's mind could only whisper, "Forgive me." He pushed through the palace doors into a cathedral of cold marble and writhing shadows. The dragon's hunger a deafening roar. The tower stairs spiraled upward, each step pulling him closer to the wailing source of the soul scream that vibrated in his bones. At the apex, the throne room opened, a vortex of stolen souls funneling into the Archmage King, his form ablaze with agonized light.
Welcome, vessel. You've brought me the final ingredient for my ascension.
End this.
1,000 souls burn within me. You are a child playing with a flicker against a star.
Kale lunged, void claws extended, but the king's aura was a solid wall of condensed mana. The dragon's hunger met resistance it had never known.
He's not just powerful, he's infinite. Every soul is a battery.
Alaric laughed, a wave of golden fire slamming Kale into the pillars. The void feasted, but it was drowning in the flood. For the first time, the dragon faltered, and Alaric raised his scepter, ready to claim the void as his own. Alaric's laughter echoed through the marble hall, not a tyrant's gloat, but the satisfaction of a scheme centuries in the making.
You think you are a monster born of chance? I forged the void dragon's curse. Every death fed my design, and you are the final harvest.
The words struck deeper than any flame. Kale's suffering, the war, even his awakening, all were threads in Alaric's immortality loom.
I bound the dragon to hunger, fed it a century of souls. You, Gutterborn, were engineered to devour my enemies, and now, to be devoured by me.
My life, Mercer, this horror. It was never a war, it was a farm, and I was the livestock. He used me. The first mage was his pawn. I will tear the soul from his skull.
For an instant, their purpose shattered. The dragon clawed for bloody revenge. Kale saw only an endless cycle of consumed souls.
No more revenge. If we kill him in hate, the curse just feeds. We break the cycle, free the souls, shatter the chains. Then we break it together. But his stolen divinity is mine to swallow. The fuel to finally end this.
The void surged, not with hunger, but with purpose. Kale rose, a hurricane of anti-magic, and Alaric's stolen souls began to wail. Not in pain, but in the first whisper of hope. Kale opened his mind fully, and the dragon surged into every fiber of his being. His final human breath escaped as a plume of void smoke. The throne room became a maelstrom of black and gold. A single entity of tooth and shadow, now coiled where a man had stood, the void dragon incarnate.
No, you cannot contain me. I am divinity. Release me.
The stolen souls streamed out of Alaric like a river of light, spiraling into the dragon's core. Each one a life reclaimed, each one dissolving into silence. Alaric's scream became a dry rasp as his godhood was ripped away, leaving only a withered old man crumpling to the marble.
The king is nothing, but the hunger, it does not stop. The world's magic calls to me.
Beyond the capital, fireballs faded mid-flight. Battlefields fell silent. Every ward, every enchantment, every scrap of magic across the world began its journey into the void. Kale's mind floated in a sea of nothing. The last anchor of his consciousness, a single image, a shallow grave in the ash. The dragon's roar echoed across continents, and in that sound, everything that was Kale threatened to vanish forever.
Mercer, I am coming.
Across the world, mages dropped their staves, their flames guttering into nothing. Soldiers who had only known fireballs found their hands empty and cold. In the vast silence of the void, Kale's fading mind held onto a single image, a shallow grave and Mercer's final, quiet smile. That memory became a tether.
I can end this, not by feeding the hunger, but by starving the curse. I'll tear it out at the root. If you remove the betrayal, I will fade, but I will taste peace. Do it.
With the last ember of his will, Kale seized the ancient spell, the betrayal woven into the dragon's soul, and unmade it. The consuming vortex halted. The dragon's form, now freed, dissolved into a gentle rain of starlight, its voice echoing gratitude before silence swallowed it.
Thank you, vessel.
When the light died, only Kale's body remained, fully human, scales gone, eyes closed, lying among the rubble of a dead king's ambition. He did not stir. The world, finally free of magic, held its breath, uncertain if its savior had survived the sacrifice. The silence stretched, broken only by the distant mundane sounds of a world relearning to exist without fire at its fingertips. Vargan's footsteps echoed through the ruined throne room. He found Kale among the rubble, chest rising in shallow breaths.
Kale, after everything, you are still alive?
Vargan, you came back.
I threw you away like garbage. I don't deserve to be here.
The war is over. That's all that matters now. I forgive you. Tell the others, it's finally done.
His eyes closed gently. The last ember of Kale's life blinked out. Vargan knelt beside the body, shoulders shaking. For the first time, he wept, not as a commander, but as a man who had lost everything. When he finally stood, the palace was a mausoleum. He walked out into a world stripped of its magical crown. Behind him, the silence of a grave. Ahead, a land that would never again burn at a mage's whim. Vargan walked through the abandoned streets of the capital. The golden barrier was gone, replaced by a pale morning sky. Slowly, doors creaked open. Citizens emerged, blinking in confusion, their bodies no longer drained by the soul feed. A former mage, his ornate robes, now just cloth, raised his hand, and nothing happened. Only a faint, powerless tremor. Vargan passed them, his eyes hollow. He did not speak. What could he say?
He gave everything. And I would have let him die as a shield.
At the city gate, he paused. The sky was clear. No magical auroras, no arcs of fire, just blue. A child pointed upward, asking why the sky looked different. Her mother had no answer. Vargan stared at the horizon. Somewhere beyond, a shallow grave held the boy who had been worthless and had saved them all. He closed his eyes. The silence was heavy, but it was finally peace. The sun rose on a powerless world, and Vargan stood at the gate, a witness to the cost of freedom. In his final breath, Kale saw not darkness, but a familiar face. Mercer stood in a field of soft light, hand extended, smile gentle. No words were needed. The soldier who had walked beside him into hell simply nodded. It was done outside the capital walls, On a hill where the soil was soft, Vargan knelt before a fresh mound of earth. A plain stone bore the words, carved with a common dagger, Kael, who ended the war. He pressed the last stone into place, his fingers calloused and trembling. The man who had once condemned him now could not speak for the weight in his chest. The grave faced the capital, where the morning light now rose cold and clean. No spell would ever again disturb this ground. The world was, at last, ordinary. He stood, leaving his sword planted beside the stone, the soldier's final salute to the boy who had been worthless, and the silence that followed was not empty. It was peace, long before the palace gates, in a ruined chapel. Mercer had shared something Kael never forgot.
I had a family once. The king came for their souls personally. I watched them scream before he took me as a soldier. He calls it war, but it's just butchery. That's why I deserted. That's why I deserted. That's why I'll follow you to his door.
Kael listened, the dragon murmuring in his veins, but for a moment, his own pain mattered less.
We'll end it, Mercer. Not just for me, for all of them.
That promise became a tinder. Later, when the void raged, it would be one of the last human things Kael remembered.
He carried this alone. I can't fail him now.
That quiet confession had turned a personal vendetta into a just cause. Kael would not let it go, unfulfilled. Now, by a fresh grave, the sword stood as testament. The promise kept, even in death, and in the silence. If you listened, you could still hear an echo. End it for all of them. During their trek through the scorched plains, Kael and Mercer stumbled upon a stretch of land that seemed drained of life itself. No birds sang. The grass crumbled to dust underfoot. Trees stood bare, their bark cracking as if leached of sap.
What happened here? It's like something sucked the soul right out of the earth.
The scales on my arm are tingling. This is my doing, the dragon's passive hunger. Life feeds on mana. You are a wound in the world's veins, irrelevant. Your purpose is the king, not grass. Irrelevant. This whole valley is dead because of me. If I end the war but leave a wasteland, what have I saved?
He clenched his fist, trying to reel in the void, but it was like breathing, involuntary. The dragon only laughed.
We have to stop the king, or more than valleys will die. Maybe after, we can find a way to fix this.
After, if there is an after.
From that day, Kael traveled with heavier steps, knowing the cost of his curse went far beyond his own flesh. Days into their march, Kael collapsed. Black scales flaked from his lips, like dried blood. His skin, a cracked mosaic of obsidian and flesh.
You are tearing apart. We have to stop. Find shelter.
The dragon is feeding on me from the inside. I don't have days left. The vessel crumbles. Reach the king's soul vault before I consume your last human spark. No fight. If I can get close enough to the barrier, the dragon could drain the souls directly. Skip the siege.
But you can barely stand. If you pull all that into yourself, you'll burn out.
At least I'll take the Mage King with me. That's all that matters.
Mercer hauled him up, and they pressed on. Each step cost Kael a piece of his humanity, but he never slowed. The golden dome of the capital rose on the horizon. The wailing of trapped souls reached them before the light did.
This is it. No more steps backward.
As they descended into the drainage gate, Kael's mind split. The dragon pulled him into a violent dream, the stone around them fading to void.
If you swallow the Mage King's hoard, his prison becomes yours. The curse's anchor must be a living soul, forever. I'll be trapped inside the hunger. A sacrifice of another would spare you. The soldier beside you, he would suffice. Grief for a pawn, and you walk free. I could ask Mercer to take the burden. He'd do it. He'd die for me, and I'd live. But I've already taken so many lives. He deserves a chance. Number, this is my war. My curse. Number, this ends with me. Mercer doesn't get a choice. Then you are truly doomed. A pity. I had grown fond of this vessel. He can't know. Let him believe there's a chance. For now, just one more step.
He stepped into the darkness, the weight of a world pressing on his shoulders. And behind him, Mercer never knew the choice that had been made. Kale climbed the final steps, scales consuming his vision. Each breath was a battle lost. He was almost home. In the throne room, Alaric's laughter shattered into a scream. The void swallowed his stolen divinity, every soul a star falling into darkness. The dragon's chains shattered. Kale's mind whispered a final promise. I am coming, Mercer. Then the world went silent across the world. Fireballs fizzled into cold smoke, and Kale's body crumpled in the rubble. Fully human, a faint smile on his lips, Vargan found him there, among the ashes of a dead king's ambition. The commander's hands trembled, but he lifted the boy's head with a tenderness he had never known. He carried Kale beyond the city walls, to a hill where the morning light would touch first. There, with a common dagger, he carved a stone. The marker was simple. Kale, who ended the war. Words that would outlast any spell. He planted his own sword beside the grave. The final salute of a commander to the worthless boy who had saved them all. The sun rose on a world without magic. No sorcery, no stolen souls, only the quiet, ordinary peace that Kale had bought. And on the grave, a single flower bloomed the next morning. Colorless, resilient, and utterly without magic. Just like the man beneath it.